Well, there is my Coleman KT196, upgraded to a Predator 301 engine. As you can tell by the tires and the mud all over the frame, I took this thing out and mudded the crap out of it with David the other day. Didn't mean to, it was just, mud was in the dark, I couldn't see it. But needless to say, look, there's no mud on my filter. Some rust spots because I left it out in the rain by accident the other day, but no mud on the filter. In fact, if you look, it's not even in line with the wheels, so when it slings things, it doesn't even get up there. I mean, what do we got? One little droplet of water might have been on it there, a little spot that wasn't even shiny. I don't know, there's always people that are going to tell me otherwise. This thing's great. I burned up about a quarter tank of gas. It does burn fuel pretty quickly. And the only reason I stopped is because David broke his kart. And that's something we're going to discuss today. But before we get into that, we're going to have a look. In fact, there's some of David's driveway. Hey, look at that. This thing is, yeah, it's fast. It's fast. I have to learn how to drive it because it's so fast. It just powers through the little race course that we have. In fact, it might be just a little too fast. I gotta learn how to modulate the throttle a little better. And I gotta learn how to stay out of the deep rocks, because when you get into deep rocks, I slow down dramatically. David was a little more foolhardy, I guess you could say, and had no trouble running through the mud more than I did when I was trying to avoid it as best I could. So I had to take the long way. But anyway, I gotta fix the throttle on here. Might work on that today. I guess we'll see. But it needs to have a longer throw on it because it doesn't open the carburetor all the way. And I think the easy way to fix that is just to make a longer arm, because a longer arm means more travel. Everybody was telling me all kinds of weird shit, but I think the simplest one is just cut the arm, make it a ½ inch longer, weld it back on, and change some of the dimensions of it just a little bit, and put a little reinforcing diagonal on it just to make sure that it stays where it's supposed to be so it doesn't bend. Because if you look at it, it does stick out there a bit. And me with my giant size 15 feet, I'm gonna stomp on it and bend the crap out of it. So anyways, like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Don't forget to pluck that dingle belly so you get updates every time I upload a video. And before we continue on to the intro, let's have a moment to talk about the HIPA Store.
You say, who is the HIPA Store? Well, the HIPA Store is a company that sells quality replacement parts that you need for your mowers, chainsaws, generators, string trimmers, and even has some parts for go-karts. And I'd like to wish a big happy anniversary to the HIPA Store. To celebrate, the HIPA Store is currently running a huge sale with some parts listed for under $5. That's steep discounts on carburetor kits, chainsaw chains, spark plug sets. It even includes fuel filters for your air-cooled Volkswagen. Yeah, you heard that right. $4.98 for a 3-pack. Have you seen how much the big box stores are selling these for nowadays? Yeah, you don't wanna. Trust me, get them here and keep some spares in your car. And you can get them from the HIPA Store at the affiliate link down below in the video description. Because when you support the HIPA Store, you also support the creation of my YouTube videos. Special thanks again to the HIPA Store for sponsoring this video.
Well, the reason why we're back today is because David crashed his kart. Now, David probably already posted a comment as soon as he heard me say that, and he's going to say, well, I didn't crash it when it broke. Well, the fact is you crashed it a lot of times, which caused you to loosen up the parts that are on here, which, of course, led them to failure. But anyway, his wheel popped off. The little spindle stub came right on out of the knuckle here, and as you can tell by how it's welded, these Coleman folks really don't do a good job. They stick it in this piece of sheet metal, which is conformed around essentially a pipe. The pipe is heavy duty though. This was really hard to drill through. We'll get to that in a minute. But they really didn't do much to keep this thing in here, and this is a really common failure point on Coleman go-karts anyway. And they might do that on purpose because if they have a weak link, then it allows the thing from breaking a whole bunch of other components. So anyway, nonetheless, this is busted. We need to fix this. David came up with a solution. He got a grade 10.9 bolt from a Camaro that'll fit right through that spindle just like this, and well, it fits right through the steering knuckle and gives us a new spindle stub out the end. Now, being this is a grade 10.9 bolt, it's really strong, should be rigid enough, and it runs through the entire length of the steering knuckle. This is David's design. And the way I've got this drilled now is this bolt, which is slightly expanded here, it is stepped, it will press right into that. And then all I'm going to do is weld around it anyway, and then weld around here to make sure everything is nice and solid. And then we got some brand new bearings, which is going to fit on everything to make this thing all go back together. The old bearings that were on here were different diameters. This one's smaller. The reason for that is because the spindle stub is tapered. It takes a smaller bearing here and a wider bearing there. And for that reason, there was no spacer in between these bearings inside the wheel. So that's something else we have to manufacture now, because the bearings on this new stub are going to be exactly the same size. So I need to make something that goes in between them too. Well, this is what we're working on today. As you see, this is pretty much what the final assembly is going to look like before we start assembling everything on it. But I need to, there we go, get this ground down, because this bolt head is entirely too thick. And when this is on the cart, when he tries to steer, this will not clear the frame. Maybe it's the shock absorber? Yeah, I think it's a shock absorber. It won't clear, so I do need to grind that down a bit and get the sucker welded in. But again, bop it with a hammer, we'll get the thing pressed in place, and it should be good fitment. And look, you can't tell me he hasn't crashed it, right? Look at the shape of the steering arm. This thing is twisted like that. It's supposed to be straight. It's twisted. So anyway, I'll stick it in a vise and I'll straighten that out for him too. Probably wouldn't hurt any if I put a triangular webbing from here to there to keep the thing rigid. I think I need to do that on mine. I bumped something too one time. Didn't do a full-on crash, but as I was steering, I just bumped into something and it caused the arm to twist a little bit. But mine has a few cuts in it because I had to make extra bolt clearance when I made my adapters on there. So definitely needs a little strength reinforcement, and that stuff I'll get to in the future. But nonetheless, let's fix his today, and then we'll see if we have time to jump onto my throttle, see if we can get that done. Here we go. As I want to pull the other bearing out of this wheel. And yeah, you can come in from the other side and knock the bearing out. This is one of the new bearings, by the way, but that can often be a bad idea, because if you're trying to save or salvage the bearings for any reason, you'll find them destroyed, and there's a good possibility sometimes that you can't get your drift in there to knock the bearing out correctly. So I have an appropriate tool for it, and this does not save the bearings in any way. This will actually mangle them. This is a bearing blind hole puller, and allows you to put the tool in like this, and you tighten it up. And the little fingers on it will expand around the inside of the bearing. Then you can take your slide hammer and thread this on the top. And you lift up on the handle just a little bit and slide hammer. Oh, first try even, wow. Usually it takes 2 or 3, but yeah, it came right out. So loosen this back up, pull that bearing back off. There it is. And put the tool back in the box, which fell way down there and took out all my floor pans and everything in the process. That's what all that noise was. Alright. Alright, good to go. Put this back together here. Now I need to make a spacer for in between those bearings. Now if you look inside of here, you can see that this is tapered. Well, not tapered, it's stepped. Because the bearing will get pushed up against the first step. So I need to measure from the inside of the other bearing that's already pushed in to the edge of that step. That's how long our spacer is going to be. And David gave me this little socket tool for which to use as a spacer, which I can cut down on a lathe, and the bearings can be on either side of it. So this is how we're going to do that. So I guess we're going on the lathe after we take a proper measurement. Another way to get a good measurement on here is to take the spindle stub, put the bearings on it because this is stepped, and then measure the distance between those bearings. And it looks like it's 2.5 centimeters, 25 millimeters, which should be about 1 inch. Tape measure says 1 inch. So we need a 1 inch spacer. How about that? Alright, well good. Let's get that cut down. Yeah, you suck. Get out of the way. A little more. Perfect. Alright, let's just clean up the edge. Here we go. One 1-inch spacer. Alright, there's our spacer. Put it down through there and just make sure it all lines up. Actually, it looks like it might even be a tad too long. I don't know if you can see what I can see, but yeah, I need just a little more shaved off of it. And it's not in all the way. Okay, these bearings that I replaced, maybe they're not the same width. Oh, they're not. That's why. Yeah, the new bearing is just a little bit thicker than the other one by probably about 2 millimeters. The 2 millimeters times 2 equals 4 millimeters, so I'm about 4 millimeters too long, which is roughly 1/8 of an inch. So, need to shave that sucker down just a little bit, make them fit. So, back to the lathe he goes. Took a little more meat off of it, about 1/8 of an inch, roughly 4 millimeters, 3.5 millimeters, I guess. Put that in there. And now we can see that we're flush and level with the inside, so we should be ready to drive the other bearing back on, and I can use this axle. Well, actually, it looks like it might be falling in. Yeah, I might not have to do much to drive it in there. But anyway, I want to use this axle just to space it to make sure that the spacer sits in there properly. It looks like it's centered, or at least centered enough. So I can give it a whack with an appropriate sized socket. Brought one with me. And I have a bearing press for this thing, and you guys have seen it in other videos, but the smallest one is too big. So that'll work just like that, and then just gently tap it in place. It doesn't take much, it's actually just going right in. Okay, well good. Get you mounted up here. You guys can watch this. Here we go. Looking good. And of course, the spacer relocated itself. There it is. Alright, well the wheel is done. This is all set. Bearings are working properly. Look at how nice and free it spins. That's great because his wheels didn't spin that freely before. Alright, good. Next, we've got the spindle. The Spindel. Ja. Das ist the Spindel. Das ist the Spindel, ja. This goes in here. Gonna get out the welder. And I'm gonna do actually, because this gets pressed in there. Turn it so the flat side is even with this here, so we don't have a point. That should get it in maximum depth. It kind of presses in. There it is, bottomed out. Alright, get a little welding around here. Should have cleaned that off first, damn it. Yeah, don't weld through paint, guys. Just broke my own rules here. Let's see if I can get this off without screwing up the threads. This is going to be the way to do it, actually. There we go. Alright. Wire brush off this here, get the paint off of it, and then we'll start filling this in with some wheel around. So, ready to be welded. All bare metal. Should be good to go. Okay, these ball joints here I'm not too worried about because it's just brass stuff. There's no plastic inside of here, so I'm not worried about these blowing out or failing from heat, and that's not been an issue from the other one either, so we're just gonna go with it. This one's a little stuck. Guess I could use some lube on it. Yeah, probably. You know what, I'm gonna pull that out anyway. I mean, what's it gonna take? Well, you know what, I know what it takes to get it out of there. In order for me to remove that, actually, I'm gonna have to damage it because I gotta put a slide hammer on it and yank it out, which means I'm gonna wreck it in the process. So, I guess we're just gonna heat it. It's one way or the other, it's gonna get destroyed, but I think heating it is less likely to because I don't think there's any plastic stuff in there. Well, we're gonna see. Here we go. Alright, I think that about gets it. Love using vice grips for my ground wire. Had a lot of problems with them just popping off or coming loose or something else, but that usually does a good job of keeping it on there. That's too hot for me to touch. Alright, well, there it is. Is that too hot? Yeah, it's too hot also. Okay, there it is. Yep, too hot to touch. Can't touch it there either. And there we are. Everything's on there good. I'm just gonna hit it with a grinder, clean it up. Take the head off the bolt anyway that we put in here because, as I said, it's not gonna clear the shock, so I gotta grind that sucker down a bit. Wish it would fit in my lathe, but yeah, I probably should have thought of that before. I probably could have cut it down a little. Anyway, I'm gonna throw it in the swimming pool for the duck. And this is before I clean out the pool because this is coming up. Here we go. Shut up. It's warm. Somebody pissed in it. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Oh, buddy. Buddy, my boy. Daddy loves you. Oh, Daddy loves you very much. Okay, go play. Okay, go play. Alright, here we go. This is our spindle here. Now, I know this is a lot longer, but David's goal was to put the wheel out a little further. Now, because the spindle stub is no longer attached to just sheet metal on the end, and rather it's anchored all the way through the knuckle, I think this is going to be much stronger than before. And this is a tried and true design because we already did the opposite side just like this, and it's been holding up. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount the wheel on here. And of course the spacer doesn't want to line up now, right? Spacer fell down in the wheel. Get in there, you! There it goes. Alright, we'll put our nut on the back side here. And I think it only went on with a few threads exposed on the outside, so I don't have a measurement. But what I'm looking at here looks like it's going to be about almost 2 inches. So we're going to make a 2-inch spacer to go on the inside here. Once that's done, we'll do some grinding up on this spindle. We'll straighten out this arm, and then we'll get everything bolted together, and it should be good to go. Now that's what we got. There we go. Good. Shit, I thought that cut through it. No, I still got a little ways to go. But it's a strong thread, a 10.9 metric grade thread. That is amazing that this thing is so strong, but there's just a little tiny piece in there, not but maybe a millimeter thick, that is holding this thing rigid. Yay! Alright. I'll clean it up with a grinding wheel just a little bit, otherwise this one is just about ready to go. I got that sucker ground down. It looks good. I'm going to call that passing grade. I actually took more meat off on this one than I did on the last one, but we're going to put this in the vise and we're going to straighten that out. Looks like a crooked-billed duck. Anyway, yeah, it needs to be pinched here and then this twisted around, so I'll get that straight. We'll get this thing assembled after that, and then we're done. And there we are, all welded together, all ground down, looking good. We also have that arm straightened out, best as I could get it. I'd say it's within 99% straight from where it needs to be. That should be good enough to keep it operational. We got a washer here. We also have another washer here. And we have all this old hardware, which I put on the old spindle stub. Figure he might want to do something with that. But this thing should be ready to reassemble. So put this down, drop our first spacer down. We got our wheel, which goes on the axle. If I can get it settled with one hand, I don't think I can. I'll just put this right up in here. There it is. What I like to do is put a small washer on, then the big washer. That stops rocks and things from hitting the surface of the bearing. I don't want those seals getting knackered. Alright, that should be able to be tightened down. There we go. Not only is it the bearing tight, but it spins freely. So when it stays tight and the bearing is spinning freely, you know all my clearances are right. So this is good. David's going to be very, very happy with that. Ranchero302me, give him a shout out, guys. Go over there and subscribe to his channel. I got almost 90,000 subscribers over here, and he doesn't have anywhere near that. Why are you guys not subscribed to him and his Looney Tune antics? Because I got on his channel once in a while too, so if you guys follow me, you should be following him. So head on over there. Check him out. Okay, well, there we go. He's going to be very, very happy with that. That's great. The bearing spins so freely. This is actually better than his other wheel. I'm going to have to go through that one and just double check everything and make sure everything's right on it, but no, this is good. He's going to be very, very happy. There's this old shit. Alright, let's clean this one up, and we'll start looking at that throttle if I have enough daylight today. Well, if I don't, I might be wrapping up this video, so I guess we'll see. There goes. This here is my gas pedal. This is where the cable goes in. This is the fulcrum point where it pivots, okay? Now, the way to make this travel a longer distance is to make the lever longer. Basic, simple engineering. A lot of people gave me a lot of goofy suggestions, making me do all kinds of wacky things when really the solution is that simple. If I lengthen this, I think even ½ an inch, I'm going to have more than enough play in the cable, and then I can adjust the rest of it out for whatever it's worth. But there's an awful lot of travel in this thing before it even catches the cable anyway, because the angle in which the cable comes into it. Because when it's here, you know, it's going up and down, but when it's down here, it's swinging that way, which pulls the cable. So yeah, that's wasted motion. So in lengthening this, when the cable comes down this way, it's actually going to start pulling on it rather when I push on the throttle instead. So that's the idea here. Just cut this thing off, lengthen it ½ an inch, and while I'm at it, I want to add a little bit of a webbing through here, a little triangle, because this pedal has a tendency to twist, and the pedal will sometimes lean this way, sometimes it'll lean this way. It just needs to be stronger than it is, because it is going to eventually fail if I don't do something with it. So anyway, that's the goal today. Let's get this rubber gogi off of here before it gets destroyed when we start welding and cutting on this thing. Here's the pedal. And these are replaceable. You can actually order them from Coleman. Nice welding job they did there. Look, it's all warped. Guess it doesn't matter. Strictly cosmetic, but yeah, somebody really did a number on that one. And it's real thin in here, which is the reason why it bends. This is a weak spot. Had they just kept this the same thickness the whole way down, it wouldn't be like that. Anyway, we're going to cut it right through here. We're going to take that little fork off the end. That's a little fork. Extend it out about ½ an inch, and then put a little triangle in there and be done with this thing. Alright, there's my little custom wedge, which is going to go in here just like that. I extended it just a little long on the bottom, so that way my little cable holder here Should go in just like that with a 1/2-inch spacer in between that will weld in there. So that's how it's going to go together. We'll start tacking some things together now, and we're going to see how it turns out in just a minute here. Otherwise, looks like we've got a plan. Yes, how easy that was. Just extended it about 1/2 inch, reinforced it while I was at it. My welds are uglier than crap because I had the welding wire turned up too high. That's the reason why I have all them BBs. But I had more than adequate penetration, and I hit it from both sides just because. And Cheeky's chasing Boomer. That's really funny. Anyways, I just have to cut this little piece off that I'm currently holding onto with the vice grips here because that was the insert that I put in there. I just tacked that on the end and then inserted this one. So this should work nicely. I don't see why I wouldn't. Really, really simple. I mean, there was no overthinking this. I don't know why anybody would have told me otherwise, but yeah, this is all there is to it. All right, well, I'm going to let it cool down a little bit because it's still too hot to handle, and we'll be back in just a minute. Even gave it a little spray coat of paint. Looks ready to go. I guess we'll get it installed. Looks like I missed the spot painting. All right, now I got to let it dry again for another 20 minutes. But anyway, yeah, let's get over there and get this thing installed. It should go right in. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't. Here we go. To lose the battery on the camera, so let's see how much of this I can get done before the battery takes a dump. Nothing like dumping. Alright. There we go. This goes through here like this. And then this clip with the spring on it, if I remember correctly, goes on here like, not like that. Under, there it is. Come on, spring. Come on, spring. Didn't want to sit. And we're still going. Remember this being so difficult to install. Maybe it warped a little bit when I welded it. I doubt it, but it's in the realm of possibilities. Oh, I was pushing too hard. Yeah, that was it. I was just pushing too hard. I was pushing it past the point that it was supposed to be in there. Our cotter pin in, and then we'll drop in our cable from the back side here. Alright, we've got the pedal down to the floor with a block, same as we did before. No more travel left in it. And we want to check out the slide. Looking inside of there, I don't see any slide anymore. And when I pull up on this cable, it's tight. So there's no more travel. Okay, well, we nailed it. But one thing is, I do not like where that cable is attached, because right now the cable is at its limit of adjustability. It's pretty much stretched as far as it needs to go. So what I want to do is I want to take the cable mount here. This is going to be in another video, but I raise it up about 1.5 inches and then change the angle of it. Instead of the cable going in this way, as you see down there, I want to bring it in more this way. And if you look down below there, you can see how the cable is kind of getting kinked. Well, not really kinked, but it's bending it inside of the adjuster, and it's causing it to rub on one side. That's going to wear through the cable prematurely. I'd rather pull it as straight as possible, and I think I can do that way. And at the same time, bringing it up as much, I won't have to have the adjustability at the extreme limits. So I guess that's going to be it for today. I call that a success. It still needs some more work now that I've gotten a good look at it, but yeah, so, well, I'm tired. I've done a lot out here today. I've been working on this square back, which you'll see a video of on Wednesday. I got the entire engine put back together on this thing. In fact, I started to reinstall it. It's not in yet. You see the exhaust pipe sticking out there. But I just jacked it up to see if everything would go into position, and to my surprise, it went in without a hitch, so that's going to be nice. All right, well, that's coming up for Wednesday. You guys will see that. Otherwise, I guess that's it for the go-kart stuff for tonight. So this way you guys have a video for Saturday. Small Engine Saturday hasn't fallen on a Saturday in quite a while. So like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that dingle belly so you get updates every time I upload a video. Check out duckshit.net for all my different social media links. Don't forget to subscribe. There's still going to be a speed contest on this thing. The rules are you must be subscribed and you must post the speed, not on this video, on the speed contest video, which is the one prior to this. Head on over there and get your speed put down in there. And try not to copy anybody else's speed. Everybody was like posting the same things over and over and over again. So whoever said the speed the first time is going to be the one that wins the prize. I can't give, you know, half of a t-shirt to somebody if two people guess the same thing. You know what I mean? So whoever guessed it first got it. So scroll through, look what's there, hit the subscribe button, make sure you get notifications turned on so that way you know when I announce your name if you're the winner. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. And that's happened to some winners before, and guess what? I'm not giving them a prize because it's been too long. Yeah, call me an ass, but if you wait too long, you don't follow the rules, you don't get a prize. And I want to give you guys a prize. I have some nice HIPA gear, which we're going to be sending out, and we're going to send you a DuckmanCycles VW Garage t-shirt. And I was surprised at how many people shook out of the woodwork. They really wanted a Duckman shirt. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time, right? That's not sunburn nor blood. It's not an injury. It's actually just iron filings on a sweaty arm. I'm a man, and that's what happens in this weather. Summer's here. All them dogs are barking like crazy for some reason. Hope it's not my animals setting them off. No, they're not over there. Be good, Boom. There's Mama Chicken. There's the babies. They're the ones that like to go close to the fence. So if they're there, everything's good. Those two are in their house. They can come out. Biddy's inside because he screams. You're not screaming, but you still make a lot of noise. There's a bowl of food. You guys barely touched it today. You guys are going to go inside and you're going to go to sleep hungry. You got a little while to eat before I put everything away. Here you go. Eat up. Put it over there because I'm going to push the go-kart in the shed. Yep. But this is a bearing. Well, all right. That's what fell down earlier. I had a couple of floor pans just kind of propped up over here. And when my tools fell down on top of them, that's what happened. Now I gotta find all the pieces to it. Anyway, that's it. Good.